you guys and say thank you to Stewie, because you know what? I love this podcast, and remember, Stewie, the Mountie always gets his man.
You're listening to Stu's Wrestling Podcast. It's time. Your host, Stu Palmer.
Fans out in the UK, I just want to shout out to all you guys and say thank you to Stewie, because you know what? I love this podcast, and remember, Stewie, the Mountie always gets his man.
You're listening to Stu's Wrestling Podcast. It's time. Your host, Stu Palmer.
We are live again, and here we go. It is Ask a Wrestling Podcast, the international edition. This is the second episode that we've done, and our first guest is coming all the way from New York. He is one half of the fantastic Dirty Heelz Podcast. They review wrestling shows. They hang out with the stars of the independent scene across the world. And here is Kenneth Stones, a.k.a. Kofi Weedston, with his answer, my question, because he's basically said the question again, so I don't need to ask it. So here we go. Without further ado, the Dirty Heelz, one half of the Dirty Heelz Wrestling Podcast. It is Kenneth Stones. Here we go.
Stones, a.k.a. Kofi Weedston, man, of the Dirty Heelz Podcast. That's right, the Dirty Heelz Podcast, man. I'm here for my guy, Stu. Stu's Wrestling Podcast. He came, he asked your boy some questions. So I'm going to put the questions down at the bottom, and y'all figure the answers out, man. You know what it is. You know the slogan, man. I'm here to answer everything while I'm still smoking. Yo, he asked me my top 3 Royal Rumble moments. All right, so for me, you know, I'm going to go early because, you know, I started watching wrestling a little late. So I'm going to say 2020 Men's Royal Rumble with Brock Lesnar entered as the champ. He entered as number 1, and he fought everybody. And then he got to the stump in the road, which was Drew McIntyre. So I'm going to put that as my number, I'm going to say my number 3 moment. You know what I'm saying? My number 2 moment, I'm going to say 2018, Shinsuke Nakamura, when he finally won the Royal Rumble, and he eliminates Roman Reigns. So I thought that for me was really dope because I was a big Shinsuke Nakamura fan, and I was trying to get him to just get over the hump, you know what I mean? So him beating Roman meant a lot to me. And finally, but not least, my number 1 is the 3 Faces of Foley. That's right, 3 Faces of Foley. Like, who doesn't remember this? Mick Foley came out as Mick Foley, then he came out as Dude Love, then he came out as Mankind. He's the only person to come out of the Royal Rumble 3 times consecutively, had 3 different characters, which was fire. Especially at that time, his character was so over. He could have did whatever, it came out as whoever, and it was so over. So let me know what y'all think about my top Royal Rumble moments. What up, this your boy Kenneth Stones, a.k.a. Kofi Weedston, man, and I'm here to give you my top 3 WrestleMania moments. Top 3. And you already know what it is, man. My number 1, I'm gonna go from 3 to 1. So I won't even mess this up, because 3 to 1, you know what I'm saying? So I'm going to go my number 3 moment is Randy Orton's RKO to Seth Rollins. I know that's a moment. It's not a match or nothing, but it was fire. It's one of the craziest RKOs that I've ever seen in my life that I've always liked. Yo, what the fuck? Remember that RKO? So that is one of the best RKOs ever. I think that's one of my top WrestleMania moments just because of the way it was set up. Plus, it was outside, so just the way the whole thing was set up was fire to me. Number 2, I'm going to go with Ultimate Warrior defeated Hulk Hogan. For me, this meant a lot to me as a kid because I was a big Ultimate Warrior fan, and all I wanted him was to have that title so he could look cool with the title and change the color up or something. But, you know, at that time, I wasn't a big Hogan fan, and Ultimate Warrior was that guy. So shout out to him for winning that title. And my number 1 moment everybody know what my number one moment is. Everybody should know what that is. That's right. It's when Kofi Kingston defeated Daniel Bryanson, or Bryan Danielson, however you want to call him now, for the championship title. That is my number one moment. It's going to forever be my number one moment, no matter what happens, no matter who wins later on in the years or whatever. Kofi Kingston winning that title means so much to me, so much to my culture, so much for black wrestlers everywhere, and black little kids, African-American little kids everywhere. So, it was just a really, really big thing for us in our culture, man. And because we haven't seen it in so long, that we had never had a champ. And for Kofi to be the number one guy to do it meant a lot to us. So those are my top 3 moments. And let me know how y'all like it, man. You are Dirty Heelz approved. Bang.
A huge thank you there to Kenneth Stones, one half of the Dirty Heelz Wrestling Podcast out of New York. And yeah, go check them out. Please type in Dirty Heelz. That is Heels with a Z, with a Z for you guys in America. Thank you. Thank you so much to Kenneth Stones, a.k.a. Kofi Weaston, for his answers. I was there at WrestleMania 31 to see Seth Rollins get RKO'd so spectacularly by Randy Orton, so I can attest to that. But moving on, we go to Canada. We are on our way to Canada, no less, and it is a man who runs Straight Talk Wrestling Podcast, another show where he has interviewed some of the best, a lot of people from Impact, you name it, he has done it. It's George Mackay, and it is Straight Talk Wrestling. 100%. I love Mr. Mackay. I really do. Great content. And his daughter as well, the mini host who does 5 questions on their channel as well. Amazing. So without further ado, here he is, George Mackay, and he answers and he says the question as well. So I don't need to say it again. So here we go. George Mackay of Straight Talk Wrestling.
This is your host, your boy, George Mackay from the Straight Talk Wrestling Podcast. Podcaster from Canada. Shout out to Stu's Wrestling Podcast for having me on and asking me what's the best wrestling show I've ever been to, and what's 2 of the matches that stood out that day. I'd have to say, for me, it was Unforgiven 2006 in Toronto. 2 matches that stood out that day were Hell in a Cell with DX, newly reunited PG version of DX. It's Triple H or Shawn Michaels, because I'm a Triple H mark, hard. Versus Shane McMahon, Vince McMahon, and The Big Show. And Vince McMahon got his face put right between The Big Show's butt cheeks. That was pretty hilarious. And as well as the Tables, Ladders, Chair match, Edge versus John Cena for the World Championship strap. Those matches were incredible. To be in the crowd that night in Canada, in Toronto, at the ACC, Scotiabank Arena, whatever it's called now, it was electric. And it's memories that I hold fondly to this day. So yeah, for sure. Those were 2 matches that were phenomenal. Peace, love, and wrestling. Thank you guys so much. Don't forget, if you have a chance, check out the podcast, Straight Talk Wrestling on YouTube. Straight Talk Wrestling at all the socials except for Twitter, which is @_Straight Talk. Peace, love, and wrestling. Stu, keep doing what you're doing, man. You're killing it. And I appreciate you for putting me on. Peace.
A huge thank you to George Mackay, all the way from Canada on this international Ask a Wrestling Podcast, episode 2 show. And yeah, George Mackay, you can catch all his content. Go Straight Talk Wrestling. Go to Spotify, go to Apple, go to YouTube, go to his Facebook page, Instagram, you name it. He is there. He goes to a lot of the Canadian indie shows as well with his daughter, with his family. It's great to see. And he's with all the independent talent, some great photos, some great videos there. So yeah, amazing. Once again, thank you, George, for sparing the time and answering that question. And we are back to the homeland. It's the UK. We're going to England, and Brit Wres Journey's host, Chris Lappin, and pro wrestler on the UK circuit, Lance Rivera, and they are going to put together a UK-based card with a lot of prevalent UK talent, a lot of Northwest wrestling talent that I'm aware of. And here we go. Here it is, Brit Wres Journey's Chris Lappin and the Playboy Prince, Lance Rivera. Are we ready? I think we are. Let's go.
He said this question. So he's asked us to discuss what would be your dream gimmick match with a current British wrestling talent, the venue for the match, and which title would be on Which title from any UK promotion would be on the line? Do you want to go first? Or?
Do you know what? Yeah, I'll go first. And do you know what I'm thinking?
Yeah.
It was going to be a steel cage. I thought a bit harder about it. I'm going to go a nice big fat elimination chamber.
I was going to say the triple decker cage from the WCW back in the day.
Oh my god. I remember watching that as a kid and I absolutely loved it. Thought it was the coolest shit. And then I was like, no, it's not. No.
I remember the phase of showing Joel just all the rubbish, weird WCW matches.
Which else did you show him? Obviously, you showed him the
one where it was,
whatever it was called.
Also called the Alliance to End Hulkamania, that the 3 level.
Oh, that one.
Hulk Hogan and Macho Man, and they had to go through all the rooms and beat everyone. That's hilarious.
Yeah, I remember that one. But yeah, I've got to decide who's going to be in it. So traditionally we go like 3 heels, 3 faces, don't you?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, well, obviously I've got to be in there. I'm not booking a match like this without me in there.
You're defending your title.
Hold on. We'll get to that at the end. So then, who else am I thinking? I'm going to say KC Payne. He's got to be in there.
Oh yeah.
He's got to be in there because I think about all the cool stuff you can do in that match. I'm thinking Chocolate Thunder as well. I've got to have the moral support. I need moral support in there.
Get well soon, Chocolate. You listening?
100%. There we go.
Sorry.
I'm going to go RPD just because if you didn't know, he used to be a boxer, and I'm going to box him up.
Yep.
So that's 4. So we need 2 more. So we're going to have. Who are we going to go for? See, I want to say Christie.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to say Christie, but there's also Pud.
Yes.
And there's also Brian Aidenson.
You could do it like they did a couple of years and have a triple threat to begin with, and
there we go.
Yeah,
there we go. That's
Finn Balor and AJ Styles was it who started? Or was it Seth Finn Balor and the Miz?
Do you know what? We'll start as a 4-way then, because I want to put Tony Wright in there as well. So it's starting as a 4-way. There you go. It's starting as a 4-way. But there's also Harry McKenny, but he can be the special guest referee, and Jack Sinclair can be the timekeeper.
Bellboy.
And you and Tommy Jackson can be on commentary.
Yeah. Sounds fun.
Because I realised that I put all of EGS in there, except for Tommy, and I was like, right, you can go on comms.
That'd be fun.
That'd be a fucking madness of a match. It'd be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have Danny Proper at the bar.
Yeah.
We'll have Stacey selling my merch. Matt Fox trying to keep the peace, probably. Ethan Kelly on the front row, because bless him, he can be there with Critchy. Oh my god, this is just becoming a tribute show. This has just become a problem. I'd be a terrible booker because I'd just be like, I want to book all my mates, and then I'd look at the card and it'd be like, so I've got 51 matches. It's 2 days worth of wrestling.
Yeah, I think
starting at 9 in the morning.
Sunday's Wrestle Island, I think, it's got 46 wrestlers on it, I think.
I'll take your word for it. I'm laser focused on my match, that's why.
Yeah. So he's just added a tag team Royal Rumble.
Royal Rumble.
I think has 10 teams in it, so that's 20. He just added 20 more people to the show.
Oh, there we go. But I'm laser focused on the main event of Lance Rivera versus Daniel Evans.
Yes, we'll talk about that.
That's right.
Later finish.
Dan, I called you Daniel. But go on. Your turn. What are you doing? What kind of a mess are you making?
Right, so I interviewed the owner of Warrior Wrestling a couple of years ago, and he came on to promote this crazy match they're having he called the War of Attrition. So
okay.
It was to crown their first ever champion. So there are 2 teams of 4. The losing team is 2 teams, so it's an 8-man tag. The losing team is eliminated, and then the winning team is split into whoever gets the pin gets to pick his partner for the next match, which is a tag team match, and then the winner's team then face off immediately for the championship.
You're causing problems here, pal.
Yeah, so it's an interesting way of thinking of it, because when you get the pin, but who do you pick as your partner? Do you pick somebody you think you'll beat in the final, or do you beat a guy that will help you get to the final?
The final. Do you know who I realised I didn't put in my match? I'm really upset about it now. It's Hubert. So many people. Why do I like that? There's Dynamite Lee as well. You can put them in with your match. There you go. I'm forcing my friends upon you.
Just add 2 more CODs to your elimination chamber.
This is gonna have a War Games elimination chamber style match.
It's a double leveled
elimination chamber for War Games.
With ladders going up and down.
First one to get to the top of the chambers win. You've got to get to the top.
You're meant to say a venue for your match as well, but I don't know, a British venue.
Tokyo Dome. It's got to be somewhere in England.
I have no idea.
If it's somewhere in England, the only place I want to wrestle is Wembley or Old Trafford. And I'm saying Old Trafford because it's not far, it's not hard for me to get to, and there's no better place for me to go. I'll be buzzing.
So my idea for what? So as it's Extreme Fields on the 29th of October at the Crazy House, so that'll be my.
You're not putting it in the Crazy House, are you?
I am putting it in the Crazy House. Yes. So I'll do a War of Attrition match with the champions of all the companies that are involved on the show.
So I'm in it.
Yep. So I'll make it for the TNT Extreme Championship because it's a TNT show. I was going to do it. Make a Crazy House Championship, but that's not what the question is. The question is a British title.
Here's a good question for you though. Wouldn't it be good if we started on the bottom floor and you've got to get to the top floor, but you've got to spend the amount of time on each floor of the length of a song on that floor. You've got to get through an entire song on each floor before you can progress.
That'll be fun. My friend got really drunk and I piggybacked her from the K3 to our house.
So that's the top, isn't it?
Yep. To our house.
Is that the top?
Without her getting off my back. We went on a bus.
Isn't K3 at the top, but in that little room with the elephant in it?
I've not been for 12 years. 2010 was the last time I went to the Crazy House.
So is K3 the one upstairs, but then up the little steps?
When last time I went, it was at the very top was K3.
Right. I know what you mean now. That's where.
Yeah, so I carried my friend from all the way down through all the steps, all the way down to the bottom to the bus stop. She sat on my back whilst on the bus, and then I got off the bus and carried us all the way home. Because she only lived about 3 doors away from me. I was like, yeah.
Did you go home that night alone?
Yeah.
You fucking loser.
That's right.
You absolute loser.
Okay. Alright, so where's it?
Loser.
Right, so my match is for the TNT Extreme Championship. So Team 1, I've kind of made it like a Merseyside-based team. So it's the TNT Extreme Champion, Dan Maloney, Wrestle Island Champion, Lance Rivera, TNT Ultra X Champion Nico Angelo, and TNT Extreme Division Champion Clint Margera.
I would like to point out, which I find hilarious, you said, make kind of a Merseyside team. Not one person you just named is from Merseyside. Or even close.
All the titles are from Merseyside.
All the titles are, but the people aren't, which made me the Merseyside-based team. One's from Birmingham. One's from...
I meant the titles. Okay, Team 2.
Go on.
North Wrestling Champion, Liam Slater. Lancashire Wrestling Federation Champion, Dave Getsky. Pro Wrestling Chaos Champion, Danny Jones. And Sovereign Champion, Joseph Connors. Yeah.
Solid team. Very, very solid team.
I think that'd be a great match. Yeah. I really thought much more ahead of that. So one of the teams would win. I'm guessing whoever's team the champion's on will have to win, so your team would have to win the first match.
Hooray!
So, if you got the championship, who would you pick as your tag team partner in the next round then?
Ooh. So I've got to pick one for my own team?
Yeah. So it'd have to be Maloney, Michelangelo, or Quint Magera.
Dan Maloney, because he's hard as fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. And wrestling logic with me that Dan would have to get to the final, so it'd be you and Dan in the final.
Yeah. And I'd like to wrestle Dan Maloney.
Yes. But then I thought the match would also work if they ever introduced like a Ireland Temple Championship, if they ever created it, which is, people don't know, the Ireland Temple is Wrestle Island's academy. So it could be something like, who goes regularly? Gino Ramsey, Tyler Adams, Christy Pud versus EJ Walsh, Matt Brooker, Polish Barry, and a Baden. That'll do. And then you'd have to have Ramsey, Adams, Christie and Pud win, then you can have the Quinlans versus Ramsey and Adams, and then the Quinlans will be in the final or something like that. So.
It's called the Quintessential.
Quintessential, I can't think what the tag team is.
Quintessential.
Quintessential, so we'll see Quintessential team.
For the first time.
Or if you wanted to make it a bit more tasty, you'd have Violent Gentleman Society and Pud. They win, and then Quintessential versus the Violent Gentleman Society in the next round.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Peter, if you're listening.
Also, thank you for Stu for sending in that question. That was a lot of fun.
I thought you were going to ask me. Thank you. You're saying thank you to me then. I was like,
A big thank you to the lads there. Brit, Wres, Journey, also Broken But Glorious, Chris, Lappin, and the Playboy Prince, Lance Rivera there with their answer, with their question. Thank you so much there to you guys. You really thought about that as well. And also, yeah, the Crazy House, which is known as Electric. Yeah, I can imagine that, a free level match. But yeah, you probably need about 10 hours to put that card on, I think, lads. But you really did think about it. But yeah, please support Brit, Wres, Journey as well on Facebook. Type it in. As you can see in the graphic, the logo is there. And yeah, just a big thank you to my UK brethren there for allowing themselves the time to do that as well. And a big thank you to Kenneth Stones, one half of the Dirty Heelz, as you can see in the graphic there, if you're watching us live now, and his answer on his top 3 WrestleMania moments and Royal Rumble moments as well. Thank you so much for that. Kenneth Stones, aka Kofi Weedston, all the way from New York in the good old US of A. And thank you to Canada's own Straight Talk Wrestling's host, George Mackay, for talking about the event he went to in Canada in 2006. I think it was Unforgiven, wasn't it? And the 2 moments from that event as well, which stand with him today. So yeah, we had a great amount of questions there. And it was just an absolute pleasure for you guys to come on the show. And I want to showcase you guys because you've been really good to me and the show as well. So yeah, that is episode 137 of Stu's Wrestling Podcast. It is Ask a Wrestling Podcaster, the international edition, the 2nd episode we've done of that. There'll be more of these to come through 2023. And please support Stu's Wrestling Podcast. We are across all podcast apps. Just type in Stu's Wrestling Podcast. Go to the socials as well. Stu's Wrestling Podcast again on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Check out our TikTok as well, Stu's Wrestling Podcast. And this has been episode 137 of Stu's Wrestling Podcast. Thank you very much, guys. Guys, I'm going to go back. I'm going to come away from the journalistic side a little bit. Who were some of the guys you liked watching when you were younger?
Well, Roddy Piper, I think, probably made a big impression on me, and I'm hardly alone there. He was just so captivating, right? And you laughed and you were pulled in. You wanted to hear what he was going to say next. All those things that wrestling's supposed to be. But of course, he only works as a heel, or even when he became a good guy, because there's people he's talking about. And if you go back and you listen to what he talks about, he was always so careful to. He was mocking his opponents, but he also was never really putting them down, right? Like, you got to build up. If you're going to beat somebody, they got to be somebody. And that's a little bit lost in today's world, I think, that they forget that. And again, partly because there's so much of the competitiveness that there's